Karim Benzema is at long last a Ballon d'Or winner as he has won the prestigious trophy for the year 2022. Now, going into this particular Ballon d'Or ceremony, it was pretty much expected that this would be Benzema's year. So it's not really a surprise that he actually won the trophy. But if you had to tell someone 10 years back that Benzema would be a future Ballon d'Or winner, would not have believed you. In fact, such has been the journey of Benzema from becoming essentially the third player in a very iconic trio at his club to becoming the main man, the talisman of Real Madrid. It actually deserves something of a look back to see what exactly it is that Benzema had to go through. Not just, of course, during his time at Real Madrid, even before, because there's been plenty of ups and downs for Benzema, but there is no debating the fact that he does indeed deserve this trophy and that he's had to work very hard to get to the level of being a Ballon d'Or winner. So let's quickly take a look at how it was that it started for Benzema in, of course, Real Madrid. Now, doubtless you'd remember that in the year 2009 was when he was signed by the club, and he was part of the Galacticos 2.0 era, because, of course, that was the year Florentino Perez had come back to the club and he signed a lot of top players. Florentino Perez had won the presidential elections, so he signed a lot of top players. And then what happened thereafter? So then what happened thereafter was that, he was signed by the club. And remember, this is in the same window that the club signed Kaká and Cristiano Ronaldo. But he was obviously at that point not at the level of either Ronaldo or Kaká. In fact, he was seen more as one for the future. And indeed, that's how it started out for him. Because if you remember that he didn't really start too many games to begin with when he first joined Real Madrid. In fact, he was the clear second choice behind Gonzalo Higuain, who had been in the club a few years and already established himself as someone who scored a lot of goals for fun. Now, despite that, he was also, he would get plenty of games as a substitute, and in fact, more so than that, he would score goals on occasion, but he found himself being the target of plenty of criticism from the Spanish media. Why was that the case? Well, because according to the Madrid-based media, he didn't adapt enough to life in Spain, and that included the fact that he had not actually started learning Spanish despite being part of the Spanish capital for more than a few months. Now, this is something that is normally seen as a slight by those who live in Spain. Of course, you'd remember that Gareth Bale went through similar treatment for years when people assumed that he didn't actually know how to speak Spanish and had never really bothered to learn. Benzema went through something similar and actually had to come out and say that, look, I have started learning the language. I am trying to acclimatize myself to life in the capital, so please stop criticizing me. That was it, and that was a fairly rocky start for Benzema, because aside from being criticized for not adapting to life in Spain, he was also criticized for his lack of all-round game, as well as the fact that he seemed to be somewhat overweight for the most part. Now, that is something that he then went on to work hard on in subsequent seasons. In fact, just about a year or two after he first joined Real, he actually ended up seeing a specialist and did work for weight conditioning and also to add muscle mass. So he actually ended up losing about 9-10 kilos in excess fat, but he also added some muscle that actually helped improve his overall conditioning. So after that, also, he didn't just work on, of course, his body, he also worked on his game. And under someone like Jose Mourinho, who you remember became the manager just about a year after Benzema signed, he ended up working more on his all-round game. The Benzema of that era was a very different player to the player you're used to seeing now. His game revolved around scoring goals, and that's about it. He didn't really do much beyond just being a goal scorer, and it was under Mourinho and, of course, the kind of players that he was playing alongside, that he had to work on his overall game. He had to work on his work rate, he had to work on his link-up play, he had to work on being more than just a goal scorer, and he did in fact do that. And due to that, in coming times, he did end up replacing Gonzalo Higuain as the club's first choice striker. But despite the fact that he was, for the most part, the number one choice striker, he wasn't always someone who was seen as that important a player, according to not just the media, but even many fans. And he was, for the most part, as I'm going to explain now, despite the fact that he actually began to start more games for Real Madrid, he was regularly one of the first teams that was one of the first names that was part of the team sheet. Despite that, he wasn't actually getting as many goals as his more illustrious teammates. In fact, at that point, He would play alongside the likes of Angel Di Maria and Cristiano Ronaldo, of course. And once Di Maria left, there was of course Gareth Bale, and of course you'd remember that Bale, Benzema and Cristiano formed the iconic BBC trio. So at that point, when these three players were playing together, it was more often than not Ronaldo and Bale whose goal scoring numbers quite frankly dwarfed what it is that Benzema was producing. And because of that, he actually ended up copying a lot more criticism. It didn't help that he had this tendency of kind of sometimes missing out on very, very good chances in open play, and quite frankly, he would fluff his lines when it actually seemed easier to score. So despite the fact that his work rate and the kind of linking up that he would do with the likes of Bale and Ronaldo was very, very important to how the team played, he continued to be criticized because he wasn't having enough of the most important things, the main currency for a number 9, for a striker, and that is goals. However, as time would prove that was not just something that was down only to him. In fact, having someone like Ronaldo play alongside you is never easy, because the likes of Ronaldo and of course Lionel Messi have dwarfed even their more illustrious teammates. Just ask Luis Suarez and even Neymar how it felt playing alongside Messi at Barcelona. They will tell you that despite the fact that it was fun, it did feel sometimes that their numbers were often overlooked just because of the fact that they were playing alongside Messi. The same happened to Benzema at Real Madrid, because with Ronaldo there, quite often he would in fact struggle to get the same level of recognition. But all of that changed once it became 2018 and Ronaldo decided to leave the club and actually look for a new challenge. Now, once Ronaldo left the club, it was pretty inevitable that Real would actually end up looking for another player to replace him. That player turned out to be Chelsea's Eden Hazard, but Hazard's career at the Santiago Bernabeu has been more missed than hit. In fact, due to a number of issues, including fitness or lack thereof and injuries, he's struggled to make an impact. And due to the obvious Ronaldo-sized vacancy that was left at the club, they needed someone to step up, and that someone was Karim Benzema. In fact, if you go over his goal scoring stats since the time that Ronaldo left, they've markedly improved. In fact, the season before Ronaldo left, he hadn't even gotten to 20 league goals, Benzema that is. But once Ronaldo left, he was getting goal scoring like 27 goals in the season and all competitions, then 30 goals, then again 27 goals, and perhaps his biggest season in terms of the contributions that he made for goals and assists came in the 2021-22 season, where he ended up scoring a whopping 44 goals in all competitions. But not just that, he wasn't just scoring goals, he was also leading Real to titles, because you remember they won not only La Liga, but they also won the Champions League, where they actually had a run for the ages in the knockouts. Remember, they overcame PSG despite PSG being favourites to progress, they overcame City despite City being favourites to progress, and they overcame Chelsea again with a comeback victory. So it was 3 comeback victories in the knockouts, round of 16, quarterfinals, semi-finals. The final was far easier for them because they ended up defeating Liverpool, but matches that came before that, they had to fight hard, and Benzema was a key part of that. And due to that, he actually finally started to get his recognition. And once it was confirmed that, of course, Real Madrid had won both the league and Champions League, it became pretty evident where it was that the Ballon d'Or would be going. But having said that, it's not been an easy journey for Karim Benzema, because again, he's had to struggle through a lot of things that have hampered him, and admittedly a lot of those things sometimes can be self-inflicted. Remember, he didn't actually play for France for the longest of times, and he wasn't part of the French squad that played and won the 2018 World Cup, because he was actually out for reasons that weren't, let's say, football related, but had involved him being part of a criminal conspiracy that ended up leading to him being dropped for the longest of times. Despite that, his club form has remained exemplary for quite the while, and even when he wasn't scoring as many goals, he was in fact a key part of Real Madrid, and that's something that people are only now beginning to recognize once he started scoring goals for fun as, of course, Real Madrid's main player. That's not necessarily fair, but life isn't always fair, and at least Benzema can say that he is now, at long last, not just the top man at Real Madrid, but also someone who will join that pantheon of players who have represented the white shirt with distinction, but who also won the Ballon d'Or. In fact, it's interesting to note that Benzema actually was handed the Ballon d'Or trophy by Zinedine Zidane, not only a player who Benzema idolized for obvious reasons. Both of them, of course, have played for the French national team. Zidane has also managed Benzema at Real Madrid. But simple fact of the matter is, this was one man who won the Ballon d'Or, and who played for Real Madrid, passing on the baton to another man who's represented Los Blancos with so much distinction, led them to glory, and has now finally gotten his due as a Ballon d'Or winner. Now, thank you all so much for joining us in this particular video. Do let us know in the comments whether or not you think this was deserved, or whether you think, Benzema could have actually made way for someone else. Do you think Benzema has been underrated for all these years, or is he finally starting to get his due, rightfully so, because his numbers weren't that good? Let us know in the comments below. And of course, don't forget to like the video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and also tap the bell icon so you know when we're going live or uploading a new video for you guys. Then you can go ahead and follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook as well. And last but not least, download the AajTak app. Thank you all so much for joining us. As always, I've been Shane Das, and I hope to see you all with us through the day. But for now, goodbye.